When you retire, you may get a chance to go to football heaven. This is football heaven.
Hello and welcome to the Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Jameer Howerton, and as always, we have a great show for you this week. The playoff picture is extremely clear. From here on, teams that win, they get closer to that ultimate goal, making it to the Super Bowl. Well, joining us on today's show is no other from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the class of 2014, and from the Black College Football Hall of Fame, class of 2016, Arizona Cardinals and St. Louis Rams legend, but most of all, the pride of Southern University. Aeneas Williams joins us here on The Mission. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Jameer. I'm so glad to be on with you. And also a shout out to that illustrious 2014 class, the late Claude Humphreys and Ray Guy. Just a shout out to them, to our classmates that have transitioned but left this country with a legacy. Glad to be on. Thank you.
You know, Aeneas, before we dive in and get your perspective of the 2022 season, talk a little bit about the playoff picture, and because you're extremely familiar, but most recently, the 15 modern era finalists for the class of 2023 has been announced. And I want to go through this list because I want to get your perspective, because once again, 2014, and I don't know if you got a chance to look at the numbers right behind me, but 2014, 287. Those numbers really resonate to you.
Absolutely. People always want to look inside my gold jacket to see what number it is. And I actually have a backpack. My marketing director, Peter Miller, actually purchased me, and I have 287 on it. So I'm well aware of the number.
That's amazing. Out of the 362 men that are shrined here in Canton, Ohio, our guy, Aeneas Williams, is 287. Well, when I look at this list of the 15 modern era finalists, starting with Jared Allen, defensive end, Willie Anderson, offensive tackle, Rondé Barber, cornerback safety, Dwight Freeney, defensive end, outside linebacker, Devin Hester, punt returner, kick returner, wide receiver, Torrey Holt, wide receiver, Andre Johnson, wide receiver, Albert Lewis, cornerback, Darrell Revis, cornerback, Joe Thomas, offensive tackle, Zach Thomas, linebacker, DeMarcus Ware, linebacker, defensive end, Reggie Wayne, wide receiver, Patrick Willis, linebacker, and Darren Woodson, safety. When you look at that list, Aeneas, not only what catches your attention, but if you can speak to the contribution that these men have had on the game of football.
Well, the first thing, Jameer, I'm so glad I am not on the selection committee, because this list of outstanding, each deserve to be recognized and inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'll start first with my former teammate, Torrey Holt. I mean, literally, in practice with him, watching him in games, Isaac Bruce already being in, and then now Torrey having his opportunity. And I would say they were 1A, 1B. It wasn't a 1 and a 2. But that dynamic duo, along with Ricky Pro and Isaac King, those guys, Tony Horn, they actually made a huge contribution to Greatest Show on Turf. My homeboy, Reggie Wayne, right? So playing with Indianapolis. And Rondé Barber, the consummate, not just cornerback, ultimate nickelback, and I think he has over 30 sacks. So he also sacked the quarterback. Devin Hester, that special team juggernaut, the guy that changed the game many times. So they're the defensive guys, the Jared Allens, and all of those guys, Jameer, I just think that had such a major impact. Woodson down in Dallas in being one of those key leaders on defense. So I hate to mention May, and then one of the guys I looked up to, Jameer, who his time has come, Albert Lewis. You know, Albert Lewis, many don't know that Albert Lewis and who am I thinking about right now? Oh man, Dallas Cowboys, 68, Everson Walls. Many don't know Grambling State University, the coach Eddie Robinson coached two bookend corners, Elba Lewis on one side, Everson Wall on the other side. So those are the guys that literally, when I was in college, I knew their contribution to the game, and I was always going after Everson Wall's 68 interception. Is Darrell Revis in that final?
Darrell Revis is, yes. Darrell Revis.
I can't go without saying something about Darrell, man, and his ability to follow the best receiver on the field. The interesting parallel, Jameer, I don't know if you know, but when Buddy Ryan got the job in Arizona, he hired Rex and Rob, his twin boys. Rob was my defensive back coach. Rob convinced his dad, Coach Buddy, to allow me to cover the best receiver. It was the first time Buddy had allowed a cornerback to not just be left and right. In Houston, he had left and right. In Chicago, left and right. Rob convinced him. So literally, I was the first Aeneas Island, and then to now see Rex make the Revis Island, it's so funny. I just like to bring a little backdrop to that story.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Aeneas. Well, looking back at the 2022 season, what stood out to you? There was a lot to unpack, but just one of the things that just really caught your attention, just overall, and then we'll go a little deeper and talk about the defense that grabbed your attention, the offense that grabbed your attention, and most of all, who is your front runner-up for head coach of the year?
I'll tell you, the first thing that got my attention, Jameer, is how fast the right coach can turn a program around. The Giants, Minnesota, Miami, even though they lost some games toward the end, injury, Tua's injured, but how quickly the right coach can take somebody else's ingredients and literally cook a good meal in a short period of time, where in the past, it was thought that, okay, you have to take some time to build a team when you're a new coach. In this modern day, it's a lot of times the league has great players. It's now getting that. Sean McVay did it years ago, right in Los Angeles, right? Started out young coach, but these young innovators, that's what I love in watching the game.
You and I had the opportunity, I want to say back in 2016, one of the first events, we worked the U.S. Army Bowl All-Star game.
Right.
In Austin, not Austin, Texas, San Antonio. Down by the Alamo. And we got a chance to see a young Trevor Lawrence be tested in high school. And I look and see what Coach has done with the Jacksonville Jaguars and really developing Trevor over these years. It's pretty impressive, would you say?
That's Peterson is a guy that I didn't mention in that group. I don't like to mention names because you miss them. But what Peterson has done in Jacksonville have been struggling. Shad Khan had been attempting to put a winner on the field for years. He changed from Coach Meyer last year. And the awesome thing is, it's okay to pivot. Whereas before, Jameer, if owners hired a coach, he typically had 2 or 3 years. It's like Coach Kingsbury. Coach Kingsbury got an opportunity, did well initially, but when you see things not going in the direction you want, these owners now are no longer hesitant to just go with the status quo. They're making changes, even though people may not understand it. You have to be able to know, number one, when you go, a lot of times they talk about drafting the right guy. Mm-hmm. It's also important when to move off of a guy, both a coach and a player. And look like owners are doing that a lot sooner than what they did in the past.
Being a former defensive back and just keying in and studying quarterbacks and their tendencies, how impressed were you during the 2022 season of the quarterback play? Because you look at the playoff picture, the 2 first seed guys, Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. And I'm just naming those 2, but just to go through and look at the quarterback play, what really stood out to you?
Well, first I want to put a shout out because I don't want to bring any disparity as it relates to Tom Brady. Tom is one of the best I've ever seen, even to today. I'm now alluding to the Patrick Mahomes. the Trevor Lawrences, even Daniel Jones, right? Dabo actually has him intentionally running the ball. What I'm seeing today is the dual threat of the quarterback now, which when I play defense, even now, that guy who had the ability to use his legs, but also were accurate throwers, they were the most difficult guys to defense, because there were certain defenses you could not play two-man. Why? Because you needed a spy on the quarterback. And that's what's happening in the evolution of the game to Lamar, right? Those guys, and Patrick Mahomes, not only Joe Burrow, even watching him at LSU, people are surprised how good of an athlete he is.
Yeah.
And I'll give a shout out to Stetson Bennett. They're not giving him a lot of credit in terms of just walk-on guy. This guy is also a good athlete. Yeah. So that's what I'm seeing in the game, these dual threat quarterbacks who are highly accurate as relates to throwing the ball as well.
And as you mentioned before, there was Revis Island, there was Williams Island. When I look at one receiver, and I don't want to slight anybody here, but I got to look to the Minnesota Vikings and Jefferson and talk about this guy. Like you preparing for him, to get ready for him, because you were covering the top wide receiver. How would you prepare for a guy like that?
Well, first, the great thing about the league, guys like that help bring out the best in the defensive back who's up for the challenge. Right. I call it competitive excellence. So I love covering those guys. So the first key to covering them is making sure you keep your leverage. and the guy, as you talk about Justin Jefferson, I think how fortunate was Coach Orgeron to have Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Joe Burrow. Think about that, right? And seeing what Justin is doing, and he and Cousins, it is, and you know he's going to get the ball.
Right.
So that takes not only just skill, that takes, as I said, competitive excellence. Even if they decide to put a corner on Jefferson and double team him with a safety, he still is getting open. So to answer that question, I love those opportunities to go against competitive, excellent players like that.
And when you look at the defenses in today's game, which defense would want to play in that would best suit your skill set?
That's the awesome thing. I went from Fritz Sherman, my first 3 years was predominantly zone blitzing, all the way to Buddy Ryan, zero coverage, cornerback on the island. Then to Tampa 2 with Lovey out in St. Louis or with the Rams. So the great thing, I was fortunate and blessed to be able to play in any of the defenses that were actually installed. And not everybody can do that. But I enjoyed it because I was also an outstanding nickel defensive back, which allowed me to do some of the things that linebackers would do. So as I said, just was fortunate to have the competitive excellence, the ability as it relates to physically, but also the mentality, football acumen to move around like that and the defense not suffer because I'm able to acclimate to the adjustments with moving around.
Yeah, I look at Dallas's defense and with Micah Parsons, I could definitely see I could definitely see you fitting in well over there.
Yeah. And Micah just with Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn having the wherewithal to not just make him, get behind the D line and you're just a linebacker, but to see the talent in him to rush the quarterback and then allow him to have that opportunity to rush the quarterback. That's what great coaches, head coaches and coordinators do with players, find out what they do well and then deploy them to do it.
Aeneas, a few weeks ago, the NFL community came together like no other, and the prayer warriors supported Damar Hamlin. If you could just talk about the outpour of support globally, what did that speak to, and how did it speak to the NFL community?
Well, one, the humanity of it, and to see that not only the NFL fans, NFL family, but also our country. Our country has seen so much division publicly, but literally to see someone praying on live on ESPN, to see it galvanized our entire country and bring out the compassion to see the philanthropic support, donations into his charity, the faculty that night, all of the professionals that night being experts in all pro at what they do that helped save his life. The experts in the hospital in Cincinnati, around the clock, doing their job as all pros and pro bowlers, and our country all coming together praying. It really was such a refresher to see the unity of all the different components of our country and citizens come together as one, as we beautifully did and we're so graciously able to do in the future.
What advice would you give to a young man that witnessed something like that as they move forward? Because, standing on the sidelines, and I know you played the game, and, we've seen dislocated fingers, we've seen compound fractures, if you will, and you've seen people, get their bell rung or however, but seeing someone be revived on the field right there, I can't imagine. And not only did the NFL get it right, but just to see the compassion of the coaches come together. And I don't know what was said and don't need to know what was said, but you can only imagine it was like, look, let's just go back to our locker rooms and figure this out. Because right now, we witnessed something that we've never witnessed before.
Right. And that's the beauty of it and the greatness that God has placed in humans. Look at the coaches, Cincinnati and Buffalo head coaches. They sprung up to leadership.
Right.
Look at the medical staff. They sprung up, did what they had to do with leadership. The NFL, shout out to Roger Goodell, Troy Vincent, all our NFL decision makers to also be able to navigate through this. This never happened. What I say to young people is, it's an anomaly as it relates to that heart issue. That's a rarity. But the beauty that came out of it is to understand he's also, not only has God saved the young man's life, but also because of him being in great physical shape, also played a part possibly in him being able to recover from that a lot faster than maybe somebody who was not in that level of shape. So what I say to young people is to continue, yes, in football, injuries are part of the game.
Yeah.
Every profession has distasteful elements to it. So once one commits to doing it, we understand we'll have, I dislocated my ankle. And the great thing is I've had great trainers that helped me with the Rams at that time, and great doctor that did the surgery, and great healer, God. And now I don't even know, Jameer, which ankle I actually dislocated. So that's the beauty of the game. And that's what I share with young people. We know there's a possibility of injuries. But part of that, we calculate that mentally in a part of the great game that we play. And that's what I like to say to young people.
On behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and Pastor Williams, our thoughts and prayers are still with DeMar as he recovers and makes a full recovery. Thank you for that take on that, Aeneas. Moving forward, we're looking at the playoff picture. And as you know, as I mentioned in my opening monologue, it's the journey to Super Bowl. You've been a part of that. So I want to switch gears. You know that road. You know the temperature in the locker room. You know the temperature in the meetings room. You're familiar with all that. So as we look at the teams that are heading into Saturday and Sunday, for a minute, take us inside the mindset as because in the beginning of training camp, that's the goal. That's the goal. Win the division, make it to the playoffs, and let's go to the Super Bowl and get this championship. Let's get to the dance. What is the mindset now as teams are preparing for this first round of playoffs?
The first mindset is I like to share with people all the time. I intercepted Brett Favre twice in our divisional round playoffs with the Rams. Intercepted Aikman twice in our divisional round when I was with the Cardinals. And people always ask, what was it like to intercept the ball from those two? I said it was just like practice. Really, Jameer, all playoffs are more people watching what you do every day. So the coaches that have trained their players, yes, there's a lot more focus, a lot more scrutiny. But the truth is, the coaches that have trained their players to operate with excellence, whether they play Thursday night, Sunday during the morning or afternoon, or if they're playing on Monday night or in a playoff game, competitive excellence and the ability to stay focused. Many times we fail because of broken focus. So the coaches and the leaders on those teams that are able to get the young guys to understand this game, you don't win playoff games and Super Bowls because you do something out of the ordinary. The truth is, when you're consistent in the playoffs in what you've been doing every day, typically each of those teams are going to have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, let's dive in and look at these matchups. You have the number 2 Buffalo Bills are facing the number 7 Miami Dolphins, an AFC East rivalry game, if you will. Who do you like? Who do you like between that matchup?
Well, because you have Waddle and you have Tyreek Hill, I call them cheaters. I've never seen cheaters running extremely fast in any environment where there's snow. So Buffalo advantage, being at home, Buffalo should win this game, and maybe by a touchdown or more.
The number 3 Bengals are facing the number 6 Ravens, another divisional rivalry game in the AFC North. Who do you like there?
Joe Burrow and what Cincinnati has been doing, they've been, as the season is going on, consistently getting better. And as Tom Brady and Belichick have always, over the years, knew that after Thanksgiving is when you begin to hit the accelerator. That's what Cincinnati has done. So I'm expecting them to win. There's probably no Lamar playing. Mm-hmm. So not having Lamar and so many injuries that the Ravens have sustained, I pick the Bengals to win, maybe by a touchdown or more.
The number 4 Jaguars are facing the number 5 Chargers. I'm going to watch this game here because I love Jacksonville's defense. Those guys are flying around making plays.
Yeah, I like Jacksonville. They're playing in Jacksonville. I like with Mike Williams. We haven't heard anything as it relates to his health status.
Right.
If he's not playing, that's a huge blow for Herbert. So Jacksonville seems to be another team that has accelerated for the better after Thanksgiving. So I'm picking the Jaguars in that game.
And I failed to mention that the Chiefs are sitting at number 1, just licking their chops, waiting to see how this unfolds. As we move to the NFC, the Eagles are sitting up top, watching everything. But the number 2 49ers are facing the number 7 Seattle Seahawks.
What Kyle Shanahan has done, Purley, Mr. Irrelevant, what he's shown us, if you build a team, defensively, special teams, running game, great offensive line, wide receivers, it's not that anybody can play the position, but people, and Kyle Shanahan is excellent at evaluating quarterbacks. So he saw something in Purley, and now to get him in and see that this young man is executing, and he doesn't look like a rookie at all. So picking San Francisco to win and win by more than a touchdown.
And Aeneas, I have to sit, I totally agree with you, and I had to stay there for a second. And I think of one guy who came in, switched teams, and is leading and receiving, Christian McCaffrey. You know, what he's been able to do is just beyond playing lights out football.
Well, he has the pedigree, right? His dad was an outstanding receiver. And seeing this young man, the great thing about the 49ers, he has another back that can give him a blow. Right. He has a passing game that where there's not got 9-8 guys being put in the box. So he's getting seven guys in a box instead of 8 or 9. So that gives him an opportunity to use his athleticism and his toughness to score. So I'm not surprised he's excelling in this San Francisco environment at all.
Yeah, and I had to give a shout out to Geno Smith. I mean, when they try to count you out, going through all the different changes throughout his career, and to see him make the playoffs this year, salute to him.
And Jameer, I want to give a shout out to him as well. Yeah, I don't know if you ever see this interview, but what this young man and what Pete Carroll and his coaching staff, what they've done together, I don't think, rarely have we seen Geno Smith like we saw him in New York.
Right.
And this metamorphosis that we're seeing in Seattle, and to see how he's played this year at accuracy and completion percentage, that tells me once again, coaching, and I give Geno credit, but a coach that believed that he can do it was just as important as him believing he can do it. And that's what I applaud.
Another NFC West rivalry game. Moving to the number 3 Vikings and the number 6 Giants. That's going to be another dogfight. That's a dogfight right there.
That's another dogfight. The Minnesota Vikings kind of tailing off a little toward the end. The Giants have a running game. So I like a close game with the Giants with an advantage.
And I know all eyes, as you mentioned earlier, are going to be on the number 4 Buccaneers and the number 5 Cowboys. That's going to be the game. That's going to be the game.
Yeah. The NFL is beautiful. They put that game on Monday night. How about that?
Monday night. And everybody is off. Salute to MLK Day. You go out, you do your service during the day, you get your meal, and get ready for the game at night.
It's the beauty. Truly salute to Martin Luther King and the movement, and even the inspired change movement that the NFL has instituted over the many years.
Yes.
I'm excited because I want to see a great game. But Jameer, I don't go against Tom Brady.
No.
I just don't.
You don't.
If the Cowboys are able to get a lead and keep it, but if this game is close, it's over.
Yeah. I mean, it's no fluke. As you know, being a defensive guy, you got to make him uncomfortable. And once he gets comfortable and he just starts getting that rhythm, I mean, he just makes everybody around him great. We used to hear guys say you can't let him get comfortable in the pocket. You got to make him uncomfortable. You got to make him move around. But he just knows how to peak at the right time. And it's must-see TV. It's must-see TV. It's must-see TV.
Yeah, anytime, and that's the greatness about quarterbacks. No matter how talented they are, it's now, when I had great quarterback, the Kurt Warners, even Jake Plummer, when I was playing with Jake, we knew defensively, just get the ball back to the offense. And that's what you have when you have guys like Tom Brady. And even Dak Prescott has it. So it's literally when New England have lost the 2 times they lost to the Giants, Eli had the ball at the end. Right? And Tom Brady didn't get it. And that's the difference in the game.
Absolutely. Well, Aeneas, before I let you go, and I thank you so much for your time, what's new? What's going on? What does Pastor Williams have going on in your life, in your world, as you head into 2023?
Well, one, Jameer, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame is helping with this, at least. I have an award named after me, which is the Aeneas Williams HBCU Top Defensive Back Award. It is the Oklahoma State Hall of Fame, along with the Jim Thorpe Association. They partnered with now Khalil, cornerback out of North Carolina Central. He's the first inaugural athlete to win the HBCU Top Defensive Back Award of the Year. He's going to be celebrated along with the Jim Thorpe Award winner on February 5th over in Oklahoma. And it's an amazing event. And both of those, Jim Thorpe Award winner, Aeneas Williams Award winner, they're going to be celebrated at that particular ceremony. So it's humbling and in perpetuity that my kids will be giving this award out. And they reached out to me, Roy Williams, who was on that committee, and they voted that they wanted to name that award after me. So it's pretty humbling. So that's one of the great things going on. The Spirit Church, we're having impact in our country, impact throughout nationally, through our broadcast, online experience. And my wife and I just celebrated 30 years, Jameer Tracy, on January 9th. So we're
That's
excited.
amazing. That's amazing. You know, Aeneas, I was telling a colleague of mine and the producer, one of the producers of the Mission podcast, Brianna Gordon, that in 2014, I came to the hall. I was going through changes in my career, and you need to hear a message, and you just needed something. And I heard your message of when you spoke to the Rookie Symposium, and you were just inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and you spoke to the rookies that came here on their tour. And I wanted to share this story because you gave a message of your cement being dry. And at this time, your cement's not dry, meaning that you have a life to live here in this NFL. You have a chance to make your mark before your cement is dry. And you said, my cement is dry. I'm here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But however, when I listened to that message, it was like it woke me up, and it spoke to me that my cement isn't dry in my career. I still have a lot more to do. Fast forward 2016, one of the first events that I had the opportunity to work here at the Hall of Fame was with you. And I had a chance to tell you, thank you. And not a lot of people, you know, get that opportunity. And then here it is, fast forward to 2023, your cement isn't dry. That is amazing. Congratulations. So I know I took the lesson and that jewel that you passed to me that, yeah, your cement may be dry in this area, but there's other areas where you could mix that cement and lay it. So I thank you. And I always say, they always ask me like, Jameer, you've been here with the Hall of Fame. Who's your favorite guy? And, you know, I say, I do. And I say this, I'm like, Aeneas Williams. And they're like, oh, really?
Thank you.
And I'm like, yeah, because at the time when you needed it, you need that message. You don't know where it's going to come from. And that message has stuck with me for the past 6.5 years since I've been here. So I thank you for that. And congratulations.
You're welcome.
That's amazing. Along with Jim Thorpe, the Aeneas Williams. Aeneas, that's big, man. That's legacy. Wow.
Thank you. To the Lord be the glory, Jameer. And thank you so much for the Mission podcast. You are certainly on a mission, brother. Great job. Great interview. I am honored to be on with you. And shout out to Jim and the entire Pro Football Hall of Fame, Michelle, and just all the team members that I get a chance to serve with. Thank you for all that you guys do.
Aeneas Williams, right here on the Mission.